A retail worker, a woman comes up to her and says, I really like this shirt, but can I get one that doesn't have poop on it? That's poop, but I don't know where it came from. So when we talk about underappreciated professions, walks of life, things like that, so many times the hardships that people experience comes from very entitled individuals that make everyone's day a whole lot more difficult, and they have now been bestowed upon the name Karens.
Yes, good old Karens. And then we have the guy Karens too, don't forget.
Yes,
don't
I
forget.
can't tell. So I've seen so many, well, like, what are guy Karens called?
I was going to say, so there's Chad, there's Kevin, I've heard.
But I also heard Darren.
Oh, I've never heard Darren.
I've mostly heard Darren, but then I also heard a proposition of, can we call male Karens Tuckers?
Okay.
So I don't know.
I don't know.
I'm not sure.
I love that the woman, though, has a designated, like, there's no debate. It's Karen. Like, you are a Karen.
It will sometimes be Susan. Sometimes can be a Susan.
Mm-hmm.
No. I feel like when you're talking about a person, it's Karen. But when you're talking to someone, it can be Susan.
That's hilarious.
I feel like that is how it can be interchangeable. Like, if they're like, don't call me Karen. Okay, Susan.
Okay, Susan. Yeah, totally. Absolutely.
Which male Karen name do you prefer?
I kind of like Chad. I don't know why, but that just seems like a good FU name.
I feel like Chad is good for younger, entitled people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's like the younger people are like Becky and Chad, and I say that as a Rebecca.
Oh my gosh!
As a Rebecca, I'm saying it's fine.
But there's totally
Becky
a difference between Rebecca and Becky, though. That's big difference.
Right. My mom will also tell you that she hates when people call me Becky.
Okay.
She did not like a Becky in high school, so Avery only calls me Becky in her presence naturally, as he does.
What a Chad.
I'm
just kidding.
Love that. No. And then the middle age, I feel like that's the Darren, that's the Karen, that's the Tucker, if you will.
Yeah.
And then older, that's Susan.
Totally.
And I don't know.
Do we want to throw Kevin in there or just get rid of that one?
You know what? Kevin is middle aged. Tucker can be older.
Tucker.
Yeah.
Tucker.
Yeah.
That just makes me think of John Tucker Must Die.
Yeah, I loved that movie. Oh my God.
So good. So good.
That was such an iconic movie.
I know.
Oh, I love it. But I was trying to think, were there Karens in that movie? But I actually don't remember.
No, because Karen's like a weird thing, because it's like not just somebody who's nasty is a Karen. It has to be a very specific formula to equal Karen.
Okay, what do you say the formula is?
I feel like it's somebody that's very entitled. That's the biggest thing. Entitlement. I walk in here and I get this over everyone else.
Yes.
Because I am who I am. I don't know. I don't really know.
And it's not only the entitlement, like I'm feeling entitled, but it's also like the outward projection of belittlement, like yelling, screaming, demanding, like threatening someone's job, like specifically expressing of, I want this and I don't care what you have to do to get it. I don't care what happens to you and I don't care what happens to other people.
Right.
And like, I feel like people sometimes throw around the word Karen so much, or people are like so afraid to be labeled a Karen that like our generation at restaurants will like not, like they'll get your order completely wrong and we're like, it's fine.
Don't worry.
It's all right. It's
I'm allergic to nuts, but I'll have it.
I'll have it for you. Like, I don't want you to get in trouble.
Exactly.
But even like I had a situation earlier this year, like a medical issue kind of thing. I was, and anyone that follows me might remember some of the bits and pieces of the story. But I had like these red splotches all over my face, and they were so painful.
Yeah.
And like my doctor's office would not call me back. And like I had like month-long issues with them of they wouldn't call me back, or they misdiagnosed me, which happens.
Yes.
You know, it happens.
Right.
But then they would like put in for a specialist, but then tell them it's not an emergency, so you can get to her in a couple months kind of thing. And they couldn't speed it up because the referral said not emergency. Well, I'm like sobbing in pain.
Yes.
Or they'll say, we'll get back to you by the end of the week, and then 3 weeks go by and I'm like, I still don't have an appointment.
And
like
my
somebody
face is on fire.
And like I was so afraid. I even asked the internet, like, am I being a Karen? Like I really don't want to be hounding them or harassing them, and I don't want to be like, I don't want to threaten anybody or anything like that, but like I'm in a lot of pain. Like what do I do? Do I just wait? Because I'm sure the healthcare system is like, backed up, especially post-COVID times and things like that. Like, I don't want to be difficult. I don't want to be that person.
Demanding.
And then everyone on the internet was like, no, you're fine. And that's when I really started learning about the difference between, like, really advocating for yourself versus being, like, a Karen.
Right.
And I feel like it's one of those things that, like, when you see it, you just know.
Exactly. I think exactly. In your situation, you had such a justified reason. Like, this is your literal health.
Right.
And it's not like you went in there immediately and you were like, I need this, I need that.
Right.
And if you don't
cancel their appointment because I need to get in. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, I need to see a doctor right now or I'm calling corporate. Like, I doubt you did that.
No, I'd be too afraid.
Yeah. So, and it sounded like you tried to go with the process and you listened to them like, okay, a couple weeks, whatever. And then it hits a certain point where you're like, okay, I need to advocate for myself, and that's not being a Karen. That's not being even nasty, because especially when it comes to your health, no one else is going to advocate for you.
Yes, you're so right, and it can be really scary. I feel like every single profession out there, every single job, has had some kind of experience.
Yeah,
I know that when I was a teacher, let me tell you,
oh my gosh, the hub,
like it. I'm like, I have so many stories in my brain. I don't know which one I want to pick first.
Yeah.
I'll let you pick. Do you want kickball or do you want baseball first?
Kickball.
Kickball? Okay. Teacher sent me this story about they were an elementary school teacher.
Okay.
And they wanted to like be involved. And so at recess, they would just like go and play with the kids.
Yeah.
Like if they would play in the field, they would play sports. So today they were playing kickball. Mm-hmm. And the teacher kicked it, like obviously wasn't trying to really kick the ball. Like these elementary schoolers would not be able to compete with that.
Right.
But did kick it like a considerable amount of way and like ran to hit the little base. If you know how kickball works, it's like baseball but with your feet. And one of the kids that was in the outfield just started sobbing. And he like immediately stopped and went over and was like, hey, are you okay? Like, did you get hurt? And he's, you kicked the ball so far, I couldn't get to it. And he's,
okay,
it's all right.
Yep.
It's, it's a game. I wasn't trying to kick it super hard because, I'm a big adult. But like, that happens in games. Sometimes you catch it and sometimes you don't. And the kid got so mad and he just balled up his fist and punched the teacher in the face. Now, he's in elementary school. Was he injured? No.
Yeah.
But still, like, this is a third, fourth grader punching him in the face?
Yeah,
like
going to that reaction immediately.
Right.
Yeah.
That's unacceptable. And so the teacher, absolutely not. Like, sent him to the office, writ him up. Because we do not do that. That's not appropriate behavior. Cue mom coming in.
Oh, no. Here we go.
Can you tell me why my child is sobbing? He said, ma'am, a lot of kids get really upset when they're sent to the principal's office.
Yeah.
They're scared, like they don't like being in trouble. No. He's not scared of the principal. Absolutely not. My kid is upset because you kicked the ball too far. He goes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, what?
It's a game, Sometimes they get it. Like, whether he's upset or not that he couldn't catch the ball, punching someone is not an appropriate response. No. My son loves playing kickball, and you ruined this game because he couldn't get to the ball and get you out. So you need to apologize to him for ruining his favorite game to him. He goes, ma'am, I will sure apologize for hurting your son's feelings right when he apologizes for punching me in the face. No.
For assaulting me, but
he does not need to do that.
I love that she asked, why is my son sobbing? And then proceeded to explain why her son was sobbing.
They need to make sure that you understand what they're saying, because they also don't understand what they're saying.
Right. She also wanted you to be wrong.
Yeah. Oh.
Right?
Karens love when you're wrong.
Talking to you in circles. Oh, yeah. As a teacher, I'm sure you know that just must be like a weekly. There must be certain parents too that you just know, like as soon as their kid's in trouble, you're like, I don't want to call. I don't want them to be involved.
So I say this a lot. It's actually so interesting because like and Jessica Vanell and I talked about this a lot, that most professionals' interactions with people are like very neutral.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like most interactions that you have with people at work aren't like memorable.
Totally.
They're just like daily things of life. And most parents, I actually don't interact with most parents as a teacher.
Yeah.
Because like if it's that neutral kind of like everything's fine, nothing's wrong, like I just don't hear from them.
Right.
So most parents I never interact with.
Yeah.
And then of course you'll get like, because if they don't have a problem, they're not going to contact you.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's the people, it's only really usually the people who have a problem.
Yes.
That contact you for any reason. And of course you get like the occasional, like, I just want to say that my child talks about you at the dinner table.
Yeah.
Like, that's really sweet. And you love that.
Yeah.
But for the most part, you only really hear from the negative interactions. And so, like, it's not balanced. And, like, it can really come off as teachers only see crazy parents or every week. And it's not necessarily the case. That's just, like, the most memorable, especially as a teacher. Like, other professions might have other, like, servers. I know, like, you're going to see a person.
Totally.
Whether it might be a good interaction, a neutral interaction, or a bad interaction. But as a teacher, you really only interact with parents when it's a problem. When they have an issue going on. When, like, why does Jimmy have a 0? Well, because Jimmy didn't do the work. I don't know what to tell you.
This is the first time it's ever brought to my attention that there's an issue.
Well, especially, like, when they're freshmen. And they're being, like, held accountable for grades for the first time, really. Because, like, high school is when grades really start to matter.
Right.
And it's, like, a little bit of a step up in rigor. So, like, kids who got all A's in middle school, a lot of the times will start not having all A's. Not everybody, but a lot of times, like, it can become a shock for parents when they're like, these are not the grades we're used to. And it's like, well, the rigor level is a little bit different. And if your kid is able to step up to the challenge, that's great. But, you know, like, a lot of kids see a change in grades and things like that once they get to high school. So,
I mean, new environment.
Sorry, they're the worst.
I can only imagine, honestly. And I'm sure private school is even worse. Yeah. Were you in private school?
No,
okay.
You couldn't. My grandfather, bless his heart, he once told me, he goes, Rebecca, I see all your stories about, like, public education. Have you tried private school? And, like, this man lived in South Louisiana.
Okay.
So, like, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Grandpa, you couldn't pay me enough money, which I know they won't.
Yeah.
But you could not pay me enough money to work in a private school.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, why not? Like, you have so many problems in public education. I said, yeah, a lot of my issues in public education stem from parents who and admin who are doing the work of parents saying that you have to do XYZ the way I want because my taxes pay your salary.
Exactly.
In what world would I ever put myself in a situation where that's actually, like, they're paying my salary at a private school?
And they will use that.
Well, always.
Every time.
They use it at public school. And I'm like, ma'am, I also pay taxes. I pay my own salary. Like, my mom also pays my salary. Sorry, your taxes aren't more significant than anyone else's.
You got no leverage here.
So why would I go to private school and put myself in the situation that they're already trying to use as a weapon?
Yeah. You gotta be like,
oh, bless his heart.
I guess that's
fair.
Go ahead. No, I was gonna say, you gotta be really, like, strong-willed to go in there and be, like, able to stand up for yourself and be able to even justify.
It's hard. Confrontation can be so hard too.
I'm so bad at confrontation.
It took me a long time. I'm a lot better at it now, but let me tell you, those parents gave me some practice. And I know a lot of the stories I've told already, so I'm trying to think of, like, other situations that I've been in.
Yeah.
Like, I remember, I think the funniest part is that this story was in COVID. This is the baseball story.
Okay.
So, I had a kid, we'll just call him Connor. That's always my go-to, Connor. And Connor just had, like, specific assignments that he just felt were not worth his time. And he just wouldn't do them. And again, this is COVID. So, like, are all of the assignments super, super intricate? No, because we were given very specific instructions to make things as simple as possible for the online school process.
Definitely.
And I also want to say this was, like, this might have even been the early parts of COVID.
Okay.
Because I think I remember being in a certain part of the building to where it would be, like, very early on in COVID.
Gotcha.
So the assignments were even simpler. You know?
Yeah.
I remember, like, the parent emailed me and was like, hey, what's going on with Connor's grades? Like, he's usually an A student and he's now at a B. Like, I'm not understanding. And I'm like, hey, totally understand the concern. You know, changes in kids' grades can be really scary and alarming.
Yeah.
I'm looking and it looks like Connor has 0s in these assignments because he just hasn't done them.
Right.
And she said, well, maybe if you didn't assign so many assignments, he wouldn't have 0s for some of them.
It's your fault.
And I said, well, ma'am, you know, it's actually, a lot of people don't know this, but it's, and I don't know if every school does this, but in all the schools that I've taught at, like, we have to give a lot of the same assignments. Yeah. And if we do different assignments, they still have to be the same number of assignments.
Gotcha.
So, like, the department, it's not like one teacher is giving a whole lot more work than another. Like, we all have to give the same.
Right.
Same exact assignments, if not the same number of assignments. And like admin will count. And we will have meetings where we all have to count up how many grades that we have in the grade book, and they have to be similar. They have to be within like a range of 5.
Yeah.
So I'm like, ma'am, I'm not giving any more work than any of the other teachers. Well, I don't know if I believe that. Well, it's policy, and I don't know what else to tell you. It's my policy that I have to follow through on. Well, don't you understand that my son is a baseball player? I said, ma'am, our department head's son is also a baseball player at our school. Yeah, but it's different. Why is that different? Because my son is going to go pro.
Is he?
My son is going to go pro, and he doesn't really need social studies to go pro. And I just need you to understand that your assignments are not worth his time, because when he's a pro baseball, he's not going to use anything about Mesopotamia. He's not going to need to know about the ancient Egyptians. So like, it would just be better for all of us if you could just go ahead and exempt those assignments so that my son can focus on what really matters, which is baseball.
Yeah.
And remember, this is COVID. They're not even having baseball practice.
I didn't even think about that part.
Because I even went to go ask our department chair. I'm like, are they like doing anything right now? And she's like, no. And I'm like, okay.
So this was just some bullshit excuse to try and override the fact that
I don't know. So like, that's the thing though. I don't know what goes through their minds. I don't actually know.
Because you just can't relate. Like, no, I can't relate.
I can't relate to you, like, trying to bully. Like, why would you ever try to teach your child that it's better to bully others than actually just do what you're supposed to do? Like, that's not going to fly when you go to work.
Oh my gosh, the amount of videos I've seen, because a lot of the Karen situations I've seen are TikToks. Luckily, I don't have a ton of them. Like, I experience, like, especially these big crazy ones that we see.
Must be nice.
Right. And a lot of times there is a child with them, like standing with them and behind them, like just watching the whole thing go down. Like they'll watch their parent get in a full-blown almost fist fight, if not like just some crazy back and forth, like whatever it is. And every single time I'm just watching that kid and I'm like, what is this doing? Like, first of all, I would be like, if my dad ever yelled at somebody like in the store, I'd be like almost in tears myself, because I'd be like,
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, like my dad's flipping people off in traffic, and I'm like, oh, like me being like 4, you know, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel so bad. I can't even imagine like a situation where someone is full blown, like almost has the police called because it's so bad. Or
yes.
Like, what does that do?
I don't know. And it's like, so I used to also be a waitress, and like the amount of people that like, you know, things go wrong and you don't want them to go wrong. And it is very understandable that if you go to a restaurant and you order something and it comes out wrong or cold or something is like the matter, it is understandable to be upset and frustrated, you know, because you're hungry and you want food, like hangry, if you will. Because I know I get hangry all the time. My husband knows, bless his heart. But like, if you just say, hey, this isn't right. Can you please fix this? The kitchen will bend over back. Like they're gonna remake your food no matter what. Why do you have to add on the explicits? Why do you have to add on the screaming and the threats? I'm gonna have your job. Blah blah blah. You don't know what that person's doing. Like most wait staff are like college kids that are like trying to pay bills, or like young adults that are trying to pay bills. Why would you ever try to scare someone into, I'm going to take away your livelihood over chicken tenders?
I genuinely wonder if it has to do with the fact that maybe they've never worked a position like this, never had to. Good for them. And so they just genuinely are like,
they don't get it.
And they take it as such a personal attack. Like, it's not like, okay, the whole kitchen's behind and everyone in here is a little bit behind. It's my order is behind. My order had too much salt on it, and therefore I deserve a free meal.
Did you hear about, so I saw this one thing. It might have even been here in Florida. I don't know. I could be so wrong. And I don't know exactly like what happened, but I know that this Karen went to Chipotle and like whether the order was wrong, whether it was late, I don't exactly know, but she just started screaming at the person. She ended up taking her food that she already had, opening it and throwing it at this worker.
Assault.
And she got arrested for assault. And the judge wanted to get a little creative and said that
I've seen this now that you're about to tell me. Okay.
the judge thought that he gave her two options. He goes, I can make you sit in jail for this amount of time.
Yeah.
Or I can shorten your sentence.
Yeah.
And force you to go work in Chipotle for this amount of time so that you understand what it's like to be one of these workers and you don't do this again. And I love that idea.
That's so fair.
That's
like
fair.
Crime meets the punishment.
Yes, I love that.
Yeah.
A punishment isn't supposed to just be you did bad. Here's like XYZ.
Right sentences.
Here's karma. Like, you're not going to jail.
Yeah. Yeah.
The whole point isn't just to punish you. It's to like try to teach
you
your outlook, like keep this from happening again. If you tell her, okay, you have to sit in jail for this many days, like that's just going to make her more angry.
Totally.
It's just going to create more resentment. It's just going to make it that much worse when she goes to, because she's probably banned from that Chipotle.
Yeah.
But when she goes to McDonald's next, she's still going to be that same grump.
Yeah.
Because she just sat in jail for however many days.
Yeah.
But when you force them to go and actually work, then in that environment, it kind of creates, this is hard. Or, did you see that thing online? It was this woman who was like very against homeless people. And
how can you be against what does that mean?
Like, she thought they were gross.
Yeah.
She was like, don't talk to me, don't look at me. Like, I think you're disgusting. Like, she just had like this very, very poor image of like, oh, well, you're only homeless because you probably do drugs. You're probably an addict. You probably
put yourself here.
Yeah, you put yourself here. Like, you figure it out. Get out. Oof. And so she was a journalist.
Okay.
She wanted to like prove like how easy it is to be a homeless person and like get some food, get some money, blah, blah, blah. So she she like dressed up. She gave all her belongings to her husband. And he's like, don't you think like you want to keep your phone in case you need me? She's, no, I'm going to spend 24 hours on the streets and like prove that it's really not that big of a deal. And so like all these people, so she sat outside like a McDonald's or some fast food thing, and she just sat there like asking people for money. Yeah. And people kicked her. Some people spat in her face. Yeah. She like said hi to a little girl, and the mom was like, oh, don't talk to her. And she goes, no, it's okay. I'm not really homeless. And the mom was like, what? And
That's
just like,
weirder.
right. And she was like, this is so weird. Why has no one like given me money for food? And like she couldn't figure out like why it was so hard to get people to like give her money for food. Yeah. So she's like, it's fine. Like I'll just go find a homeless shelter and I'll just spend the night there and it'll be fine. And then she gets to like a shelter and they're like, oh, sorry, we're full. Yeah. And she's like, well, where am I supposed to go? And they're like, I don't know. Like,
not our problem.
I don't know what to help. Like, there's another one a few miles down the road. Miles? You want me to walk well, like, I don't know what to tell you. We're full. And she's, well, I just want to be inside where it's safe. Like, this is a dangerous area. And they're like, we cannot let you in. Yeah. Well, can you at least give me some food? We are at capacity. Yeah. We cannot help you. Yeah. And she's, oh, okay. Like, I didn't know that you had capacities. And he's like,
you think we can just house every single person?
No, we can't. We should have spent the night on a bench. Like, it was like a whole thing. And again, like, it was staged, but it was based off of something that really did happen. Like, this wasn't the actual woman that did this. Okay. And I think that it just goes to show that, like, some of the most angry people really just lack so much perspective. And I say this a lot when we do, like, bad apple videos. Because for anyone that doesn't know, like, I do Am I the Bad Apple? People send in some stories to... I say this at the beginning of every video. People send in stories where they're not sure if they acted appropriately or not. Yep. And we tell them if they're a good apple, a bad apple, or a crab apple.
Love it.
And so many people in the comments will get so angry and frustrated. Someone will say, was I the bad apple for making this woman uncomfortable? Like, I just really had a crush on her. And like that's a real story that I had a really big crush on her, and I can't understand why she like doesn't want to hang out with me. Yeah. And like you'll have someone that comments that's like, oh, I don't think it was that big of a deal. Like, you're not causing actual harm. And well, because it's like a guy that really doesn't get how creepy that can be and how uncomfortable and dangerous that can be. Totally. And then you'll see women in the comments like, what is wrong with you? Blah, 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 blah. And like, that doesn't teach them anything either. Like, that just makes this dude get really uncomfortable and decide, okay, I'm not going to engage. Yeah. Like, people don't know what they don't know. Totally. And like, the best way to make a Karen is to shame someone for not having a perspective or shame someone for not having experience and like just kind of shame them into silence where they just go and sit and fester in their ignorance.
Yeah.
And I don't mean ignorance as like an insult. You really just don't know what you don't know.
Totally, yeah.
And like, I really try to encourage that, like, if someone doesn't know something, don't, like, you can talk to them about that and you can enlighten them.
Yeah.
But, like, no one's going to listen to you if you're yelling at them.
Yeah.
And no one, like, that makes you the Karen.
Yeah.
If you're yelling at someone for just not experiencing something, that's not their fault.
Yeah.
Like, someone who grew up extremely privileged, that's great for them. It's not, like, their fault that they don't know what it is like to work in a restaurant.
Yeah.
Or they don't know what it's like to work in a movie theater. And hopefully they develop some empathy over time.
Yeah.
And if they don't and they act inappropriately, like, you can tell them, hey, you're being a jerk.
Yeah.
But, like, you shouldn't shame them for not knowing what it's like to not need a job.
Right.
Like, it's something that is a great privilege. It's not like a shameful, how dare you.
Yeah, and it's also like you can never win, because if this person's like, well, maybe I'm going to go get a job and I'm going to see what it's like to work, and people are going to be like, well, isn't that nice that you can choose when, you know, it's just, you're never going to win.
Exactly.
And it's just this constant, like, you're wrong and this is why. And
yes. And it's like, even though, like, Karens are the worst, man, to Karens and Darrens, but I feel like at some point there are some people that kind of create them.
Some people have bad opinions.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, yeah.
If someone has an opinion that you really, really disagree with, and you're just like, nope, you can't speak. I don't want to hear it. This is awful. How dare you? That's not going to change their opinion.
No.
That's just going to make them more stubborn about it.
Yeah.
It's just going to make them sit there and fester in the anger and hatred and whatever.
100%.
Like, especially like cancel culture. I hate cancel culture. I cannot deal with it. I think that it's like, why would you ever just sit there and make someone that much more hateful? There's exceptions.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, for sure.
But like when it's, oh, we're canceling someone for having this opinion, why would you ever just sit there and let someone fester in their hatred?
Yeah.
And not, like, you want to make more allies. For whatever, you know? Like, I grew up Jewish. I am much more aware of anti-Semitism in the country than, like, most people are.
For sure.
Because, like, I experienced it. I would never want to create more of a problem for Jews in the country. You know, I would never want to just make people sit there and fester in hatred to the point where there's, like, an issue that you can't take back.
Yeah.
I think it's much more productive to, like, educate people and create empathy and sympathy and, like, not make more Karens and not make it more hateful and, like, you know what I mean?
Yes, I think you really, like, the word empathy is really important here, because I think that is something that a lot of people just don't have.
Yeah.
And I feel like I am bleeding with empathy, and I feel too much of the time that I'm, like, constantly watching other people not have empathy, and I just don't.
It's like, how?
I don't
how
get
do you
it.
not care? Or, like, even the logic.
Yeah.
Like, how? And it's like, it's that double-edged sword of, I want to teach people to have empathy and logic, but, like, how do you do that?
Yeah.
Like, one person sent me a story of, this was a pizza delivery guy, and he went and delivered this pizza to this house.
Yeah.
And he rang the doorbell, and a little girl opened it, and he goes, hey, I have your pizza, but it's a big box.
Yeah.
Is your mom home? And little girl just says, maybe like 6, 7 years old. My mom says I need to grab the pizza. Oh, okay. And you just, are you positive? And you can just hear the mom in the background. Yeah, just give it to her. It's fine. Okay.
Yeah.
So he hands it to her, and it's like a bunch of pizza boxes. And she's, okay, thank you. And he just kind of waits because he knows.
Yeah.
He knows. And she takes like 3 or 4 steps, and shoot, boxes topple right over. Pizza's all on the floor. She, oh no. Mom comes around the corner. What happened? What did you do? Blah, 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 blah. We paid for that. Blah, blah, blah. Well, then looks at the pizza guy. How are you going to fix this? What? Yeah, we paid for all this pizza, and now it's on the floor. How are you going to fix this? Are you going to go get us some new pies? He goes, ma'am, I didn't drop your pizza. Well, you gave it to my daughter, who was clearly too small. You told me to give it to my daughter. Well, I told you to hand it to my daughter for me to eat, not for her to fall onto the floor. Like, you weren't watching her. You weren't helping her.
Whoa.
Right.
Whoa.
this is not my child,
Like,
ma'am.
you think I'm gonna go into your house and like escort your like
That's dangerous.
That's weird.
That's so weird and dangerous. Like, I would never, I know
No.
this is a guy, I know everyone will have different opinions on
Yeah.
this, but I would never, like, if I were to be delivering food, would never walk into a stranger's house.
God, no.
Absolutely
No,
not.
no.
And he was just like, there's nothing I can do. And he felt so bad for the little girl because she
Yeah.
was getting yelled at.
Yeah.
He's like, I can't just go make you more pizzas. Like, we're very
Yeah.
busy today. That's not how that works.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
if you would like to buy some more, that's fine. But I'm not just
gonna go back and
no,
like what
that's
is
not how that works. Like, I don't get paid to do that. I don't have time to do that. I
Yeah.
have so many more deliveries today. And she's just sitting there screaming at him because she said, give the pizzas to my daughter, and then she dropped them, and now it's somebody else's problem.
Yeah, this was all orchestrated by you. So why is the
Right.
blame being shifted
Right.
anywhere else
Like,
right now?
you were too busy. You let
Yeah.
a little girl
Yeah.
open the door for a grown adult stranger.
Yeah.
And you asked the little girl to take all the food instead of you stopping whatever
Yeah.
you were doing, which,
Yeah.
it could have been something important, but like, that's still choices that you made.
Yes.
It's not everybody else's problem. Okay, sometimes people make bad decisions.
Yeah.
Sometimes people make mistakes. I do it every day. Like,
Absolutely.
Sometimes I'll just go about life and I go, oh, I shouldn't have done that. My bad.
Yeah.
You also get a lot of crazy stories of situations that I'm sure people send you, just as many as they send me. Are there any that like really stick out in your brain?
Oh, that's a good question. This is the problem, is that I've seen so many.
That is like,
now they're
how do I
all-
pick them?
Yeah, they're all intertwined. I'm going to try and keep it as anonymous as possible because this is something that my mom told me because she's a teacher.
Oh, I love teacher stories.
So, yeah, so there's a parent that came in, wanted to drop their kid off, and the kid gets out of the car and is throwing up. Throwing up all in the bush, all over the bush. And my mom sees this and she's like, oh, it looks like you're not feeling well. Like, have a good day because you can't come to school if you're throwing
Yeah,
up. Like, that's
exactly.
a big, like,
Yes.
anything that's coming out of you, don't come to school. And the parent came inside after the fact and was like, okay, he's here, he's ready to go to the class. And they were like, no, he's sick, he needs to go home. And this woman threw a fit immediately and was like, no, there's no throw up out there, he's fine, blah, blah, blah. They have cameras.
Yeah.
So,
I'm sure you can just walk out and smell it.
right? So they checked the cameras. This woman took a water bottle, watered down the plant so you can't see it, right? And continues like, he's not sick. And they're like, ma'am, we literally saw you. Like, we just watched this happen. And so she goes, okay, he's not coming to school here ever again. Go to the classroom and get everything I've donated, and I want it back. And they were like, okay.
Yeah.
So went back to the classroom, and this was like the last day before winter break or something like ridiculous. And they were like, do you need any of this stuff? Like, can we just take it just for the sake of being like, here you go? And they did. They gave it back, and she left. And I guess they came back maybe later. Like, the dad showed up, like they were calling, showed back up, and they were just screaming like the whole time. It was just this big thing. Taking the kid out, I'm not going to see him anymore. Obviously, he's there for the next day for when they come back from winter break, and it's as if nothing happened. So it's just like these big things that it's just like,
What was the point of that?
it was simply just the denied access, right? I'm telling you no. The only other factor in that was that there was a holiday party today. So the kid wanted to be at the holiday party, which is fair, fine, cool.
Kids have FOMO. He'll forget about it in 2 days.
Literally, he'll forget about it. You can have one at the house, right? Like, 'cause
Right.
these parents, I don't want to say they don't work. I genuinely don't know, but I know that they have like the grandparents that live there. So it's not like they need a babysitter. Or,
Right.
I don't believe that arrangements needed to be made. And I was like, why couldn't they just like FaceTime or like, like put them like on the projector and be like, okay, you can come in for 2 minutes and see, we'll say hi to you. And then,
Right.
like, literally you could have done anything. They could have called and been like, so-and-so wants to say happy holidays. Like, sorry, he can't be, I don't know. There's so many options besides coming in and like losing your shit on everybody and demanding your stuff back. Like, what is that?
And like demanding that your kid throwing up be around
Yeah.
other people's kids. Because if it was reversed and if another kid came in throwing up,
Yeah.
they would have anyone would have an
Yeah.
absolute conniption fit. Like, that's
Yeah.
not okay.
Yeah.
And it's like logic just goes right out the door.
Yeah.
Or like someone else sent me a story of how like they work at a grocery store and a woman walks up with like a thing of pork chops and she's like, hey, I need to return these, I think they went bad, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
It's like an unopened container.
Yeah.
I think I actually don't need them anymore. Like, I didn't open them, so it's fine. So I just need to go ahead and return it if you could put it, like, on my card or anything like that. They're like, okay, do you have a receipt? And she goes, oh, no, I actually don't. And I kind of threw it away. But I just got these a few days ago.
Of course.
And so they take the pork chops and they look. And, like, when it comes to produce and meat and things like that, it has a label.
Yes.
Where it says the day that it was packed.
Yes.
And it literally said that day. Like, the meat was packed that day.
Yeah.
And they go, when did you buy this? And she goes, oh, I bought it a few days ago. And they said, this is so weird.
Yeah.
Because it says that it was packed and just put out for display today.
Right.
And she goes, what does that mean? And they go, it means that there's no possible way for you to have bought this 2 days ago.
Right.
And so they go, we can go. She goes, are you calling me a liar?
Yes.
Are you saying that I'm lying to you? And they're like, well, we can go look at the cameras and see, like, if you just happened to walk in with the pork chops or if you went back to the meat and picked it up. And she goes, no, it's fine. I actually don't need, I'll just leave. And she tries to grab the pork chops. And they go, no.
Yeah.
She goes, well, I'll just take my pork chops back and leave. And they're like, no, because that means you'll be stealing the pork chops.
These aren't your pork chops, girl.
You can't do that. She goes, well, these are my pork chops. And she goes, haven't you heard that the customer is always right?
Here we go.
And the guy goes, yeah, but I've also heard of polio, and thankfully both of those are outdated.
That's incredible. That's incredible. I love that so much.
Like, it's crazy. Like, in what world would you just decide, well, if I just tell them that I'm right, I can just steal these pork chops? Like, that's not even like I just want to do what I want. I want to commit a crime, but I don't want any consequences.
Yeah.
Because I'm me.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Because this is the thing that I do. I don't know.
It makes no sense to me.
No.
Absolutely no sense.
It's like they just think that people are just stupid. Like, they're just like, they won't know. These people, they only work here. They only are the ones packaging this.
Yeah.
They won't know.
They don't know. Or, like, what I want is just so significantly more important. Because, like, you have to understand that stores do inventory.
Yeah.
Like, things like that happens. So when you steal like that or you pull something like that, that's going to get someone else in trouble at their job. And that's just a blatant lack of caring of like, oh, well, this person maybe get fired because things are going missing. And I don't care.
Yeah.
Like,
I really, like we said, just think that they look at these positions and they're like, you get paid minimum wage, or you're a position that I see as beneath me or whatever, and therefore you are beneath me, and therefore you are almost, I'm going to treat you like you should cater to me and it's just so weird.
Or someone else sent me a story, another teacher. A parent came after school to check in. She said, hey, I need to ask you something. And she said, okay, yeah, what's going on? She said, I've been having some issues with my hip or something like that, and I'm going to be having surgery next week, so I just need to get some things situated for my kids. And she's, oh, absolutely, I hope it goes well. What do you need? Do you need work for next week? Or are they going to be out? And she goes, well, actually, I just need you to watch him for a little bit after school. I need you to watch my child. And she said, what? This is... no, I'm sorry. I don't stay after school. My work day ends at 3:30. I'll be going home. Great. Do you want me to bring the car seat by so that he can go with you?
What?
No, ma'am. It's actually illegal. I will get fired if I take a student home. We can't even have kids in our cars.
Yeah.
If the basketball team is going to a game and one kid misses the bus, we can't take them.
Right.
We can't do that. And she's like, well, it won't be that long. And if it is, I'll pack an extra overnight bag and I'll pay you
overnight.
for it. I'll pay you for this, for you to babysit my child. Ma'am, I will not be watching your child while you're in surgery. I hope it goes well.
Yeah.
Because, well, are you saying that you don't like spending time with my child?
Nope.
You're my kid's teacher. My kid should be one of your utmost priorities, if not your utmost priority. Why are you not prioritizing your students? You should be making sure that they're okay constantly. You're their teacher. Your job isn't just bell to bell.
Yeah. It's not, because that's what's in my contract, but okay.
So when COVID started, I had a parent have a conniption fit because I wouldn't go meet their kid at Taco Bell on Saturdays for tutoring.
Oh.
And I'm like, this was in March of 2020.
Okay, right.
Like,
right
COVID just shut schools down.
Yes.
And he was like, well, my kids' grades are dropping. Sir, I've been trying to contact you about your kids' grades since
before.
January.
Yeah.
Well, I'm paying attention now. So now that we have so much extra free time, why don't you go meet us at Taco Bell every Saturday until we can get his grades up? Sir, not only am I not going to do that, but what makes you think the Taco Bell is open? Everything is shutting down. Nothing is open. Okay, well, can we come to your house? Do you want to come to our house? What do you not understand about I'm not meeting your child? I'm so happy that you're finally taking an interest in your kid's education.
Yeah.
And what ended up happening is that, you know, the school ended up deciding, hey, if they're a senior, they're fine. They passed.
Okay.
That's
nice.
I have my own opinions on that, but they just didn't want to deal with it. So they're like, hey, seniors, you're good. You graduated.
Go to college.
have a great rest of your life.
Wow.
Well, yeah, like literally 2 weeks after school shut down, they just decided seniors are fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, and then for everyone else, they just decided, are they passing? Cool.
Yeah. Good enough for me.
If they're not, they can come to class. If they're unhappy with their letter grade, they can come to virtual class and work on things to bring it up. But if they're happy with their grade,
We'll just leave it.
yeah, you're good.
Oh,
You know,
okay.
you didn't do nothing. But like, yeah,
Yeah.
Taco Bell.
It's literally like, it's just my kid, like you aren't doing anything right, because if you're not in the classroom teaching my kid, you must be bored and you must have nothing else to do in your personal time.
Because don't you know, teachers live at school and we do nothing. We don't have our own families.
No.
We don't, or like, it's always really crazy when it's always assumed like, well, you don't have kids of your own, so you can do this extra XYZ. No.
What a weird thing.
No.
Yeah.
Or like, it's not even, there's even Karens that, whether it has to do with kids or they don't have kids or whatever, are just like blatantly just rude.
Yeah. Oh,
or
yeah.
like not even blaming people for things happening to their kids. Like someone else sent me a story of a retail worker who, you know, she was just folding clothes and a woman comes up to her and says, hey, I really like this shirt and I would love to buy it, but can I get one that doesn't have poop on it? And the worker just turns around and goes, wait, what? I'm sorry. And she looks at the shirt and sure enough, it has like a brown smear on it. And she's like, what? So she grabs it and she sniffs it and she's like, yup, that's poop, but I don't know where it came from. So they go to check the cameras and there was a mom like an hour earlier that had an infant with her who started crying. And she picks up the baby and I guess decided that this baby needed to be changed and just set the baby down on the clothes display and just changed this baby right then and there, made a little bit of a mess, saw it, shrugged, and walked on.
I'm like speechless.
Like the pure act of entitlement and disgustingness, like, in what world is that appropriate?
It's like the same people that like don't pick up their dog shit. Like they're just like,
yes,
you know, it's not my problem. It's, you know, my neighborhood, but I'm not picking it up. And just, that's, I actually had somebody, I used to work at Ross and I was working in the dressing room. So it was right by the bathroom. And, you know, people, I don't really notice who comes in and out. And all of a sudden my manager came back and she was like, I need you to, you know, keep an eye on things. I got to go clean the bathroom. And I was like, oh, why? Like, that's not your job. Weird. And she was like, someone pooped in the middle of the floor.
What?
Just like in a Ross, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, I don't know. Like, do you know that someone, like, do you think about, like, I can't even tell you. I can't even try and explain this, but I literally was just stood there and I was like, okay, good luck in there. I'm not helping.
I just thought of this one situation that happened and it's someone that I know.
No.
It's someone that I know, their ex-girlfriend. Thank God it's an ex-girlfriend.
Is it Amber Heard?
Amber Turd. oh no, I'm not even gonna say bless her heart. She doesn't deserve it.
No.
So he has this dog. Loves this dog, and it's a new dog owner, and so he was walking the dog one day, and the dog had to go to the bathroom, and he, very responsible dog owner, always picks up the poop and stuff, but this dog had an upset stomach. And he felt so bad because he's like, I can't really pick that up. And he felt so bad because he's like, oh, I just ruined someone's yard. I don't know what to do. And so he just kind of decided that he would always walk the dog on his left side, or on the side like where the grass was like close to the street, so that if something like that were to happen again, it would at least be in that part of the grass and not in like someone's main yard where kids might be playing or people might be walking. Like he just decided that would be the responsible thing to do. So when his girlfriend from out of town would come to visit, and she's like, oh yeah, I'll just go walk the dog for you, he would always say like, hey, make sure you walk him on this side. I'll think about it.
Okay.
What?
Just do it.
No, and he would like explain to her why he was doing it, and she's like, I'm just saying, like, if I feel like it, I'll do it. And he's like, I don't understand why. And she just wanted to make a point, like she just wanted to be a contrarian. She just like, I don't know why. I mean, he's like, I don't understand why you can't be more considerate. She's like, well, I just don't understand why you have to be like such a stickler. Like, we didn't even put our dog on a leash. We just let my childhood dog free roam. And he even walked in the roads and the streets, and he looked at her, he's like, girl, your dog died because it got hit by a car. What do you mean? What kind of argument is that? That my dog did this? Yeah, that's what got your dog killed. By being irresponsible.
100%.
Why? I don't understand. Why?
It's funny you say that because I just got a puppy a couple months ago, so I was posting like, look what we're doing to train the puppy. She's like, 12 weeks old, like we're already working on sit, we're working on this or whatever. And I had so many people were like, just let her be a puppy. Like, why are you training? Like, you're being so mean. Like, you're forcing her to do this. And I was just like, this is a safety thing, number one. I have so many people in my neighborhood who let their dogs off a leash, and they have come running up to me and my dog, almost getting hit by a car themselves. And I now carry, I think it's called citrine spray, because I am so scared that like someone's irresponsible dog is going to come up to us. And this happened to us, and they were little dogs, so I wasn't super threatened, but there was 2 little dogs, and I usually just yell and they'll run away. And I was really mad about it, and I saw this woman walking around with a dog and a baby carriage around the neighborhood, like calling somebody. And I came out and I was like, hey, did you lose 2 dogs? And she was just like, yeah. And I was like, okay, because they actually just came after me and my dog. And she was like, okay. And like kept walking, like literally was like so unfazed.
Gosh.
So then I'm like, okay, this is a confrontation. And I immediately was like, what did I do wrong? Because this woman like seemed like she was kind of like whatever. And I was thinking about it, and I was like, if my dog ran after somebody, it got out, if it wasn't my fault even, and somebody was like, your dog ran after me, I would have been like,
I'm so sorry.
I'm so sorry.
Oh my gosh, let me take care.
Did something happen? Like, where did she go? Number one, but also like literally it's the fact that it's just like, oh, okay.
Whatever.
Yeah, like, where is it? I'm like, I don't know.
Girl,
like,
oh my God.
You're like, I didn't stop on that thing for coming after me.
And like, some people are just such irresponsible dog owners, and it's just known. Like, one of my best friends, she inherited a pity from her grandmother who passed. And she loves this dog, and her dog has so much energy, but she's so afraid to take her to dog parks because she just knows that other people's irresponsible dogs are going to, are they going to come jump at her? Are they come whatever? And if anything were to happen, her dog would get blamed because she's a pity.
Totally.
Because people just have such prejudices against those dogs that their untrained chihuahuas will come and literally bite her in the face. And when she turns around and nips at them, that's the pity spot.
Oh, your dog.
Pitties are they're so scary. No, chihuahuas are so much more scary than pit bulls.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
And it's so funny because her childhood dog was a chihuahua, so she's like, I know this is true because I had one.
Yes. There was this video, I don't know if you saw it. It was probably, I want to say, sometime last year that was going around, and it was a dog park situation. And there was a dog there that was like wild, like, and everyone was screaming, like freaking out. This dog was running around, and the owner's just cussing everybody out, and like this whole thing. And everybody was like, you know what's really sad about this is the dog looks like it's the problem here. it is 100% this
The
owner.
owner.
It is only the owner, because everyone else's dog is fine. And granted, obviously, some dogs are just crazy. Like, that's just,
Yes.
and you need to know that. You need to know, like, this is
Right.
what my dog needs. They can't go to a dog park because they act like whatever. And to just, like, get mad at everybody else and be like, well, blah, 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 like, you stay, like,
No.
I'm sorry, you brought your dog to a community park, let it off a leash, and decided not to watch it, decided not to take it home if it started to act up, like, whatever. And it's just so sad how many, I'm sure, times that has happened where the dog looks like the problem, and it's like,
It's the owner.
it is 100% the owner.
A lot of it comes from people, like, people don't do research when they get a dog, and
Yeah.
they get a dog they can't handle or they
Yeah.
can't train. Like, my brother found a Malinois in the woods, and he loves that dog, and he's very strict with him because
Yeah.
he has to be.
Yes.
He has to be. And a lot of people don't understand that. They're like,
Yeah.
oh, you're so strict, or you're so mean, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
He's like, you do not understand that I have to be not, like, for everyone else's safety.
Yeah.
Because these dogs,
Yeah.
they can get intense.
Right.
And, like, they're the most loving, and, like, that dog, he loves my brother so much.
Yeah.
Cal, that's his name, Kalev.
Oh.
They were literally, he was walking him at night, and there was someone just sitting on the opposite side of a bush, not doing anything
Yeah.
crazy. He was just sitting outside on a bench,
Yeah.
like waiting for a bus or something. But Cal didn't see him, and all of a sudden he sensed a person,
Yeah.
and he got tensed up, and he started growling in a way
Yep.
my brother had never heard before, and he got very protective of Ethan. If Cal was not trained,
Yeah.
and he just sensed danger, that could have been very dangerous for that
Definitely.
gentleman who was just sitting there
Yeah.
minding his business.
Right.
And so, like, I feel like a lot of people sometimes are like, oh, I want scary dog privilege. But
Yeah.
they don't understand that you have to train the scary dog.
Yes.
Or else it will just be a very dangerous situation for everybody.
Yeah.
And it just, people don't get, like, it's not the same as cats.
Yeah.
Cats are just going to do whatever the heck they want. My
Yeah.
cats do whatever the heck
Right.
they want.
Yeah.
Like, and it's so funny because my brother, who, like, trains this dog to a T,
Yeah.
will come to my house, and, like, my cat will just jump on the table, and I'm like, hey, don't do that. And she just looks at me, and I'm like, nah, it's fine, but it's not the same.
Yeah,
I don't,
totally.
with a cat, they run your home. But with
For
a
sure.
dog,
Yeah.
you have to run them.
Yeah.
And it's just different.
Or they will run your home and there will be problems.
Oh my gosh.
And granted, not every dog is going to be like that. But like you said, like some dogs.
Exactly.
And like if your brother hadn't put in that work and put in that time,
Exactly.
you never know. And
Exactly. Even just thinking about, like, dogs in the neighborhood, someone else sent me a story of how, like, they got a call from their neighbor who said, hey, do you mind not letting your dogs outside in your yard? And now, mind you, this is a fenced-in yard. Do you mind not letting your dogs outside in your fenced-in yard? Why? Because sometimes I like to play piano out in my sunroom, and I can't really enjoy the music when your dogs are outside barking. So I would just really appreciate it if, like, you just limited the time that they were outside,
Yeah.
so that I could enjoy my silence. Click, hang up.
I'm sorry, what?
No, absolutely not. Like,
Yeah, my happiness is
my happiness
more
is-
important
yeah,
than yours.
absolutely. Like, or another neighbor. So, this guy, and I saw this on a video, and it was so, I couldn't stop laughing. It was so funny.
Oh, no.
It was this old man just walks up to his neighbor's Ring camera, and I think this is somewhere in England.
Yeah.
And just goes, hey, you have this Wi-Fi network? And the guy
Yeah.
was like, yeah. He goes, so you just put up a password, and I don't really appreciate it. And the guy was like, excuse me? He goes, yeah, I've been living here for a couple years now, and I've been using your Wi-Fi the whole time. And I just think it's really unfair that I've gotten used to using your Wi-Fi for the last 2 years, and now you just want to take it away? And I think that's
even
just kind
tell
of-
me?
That's just kind of unreasonable.
Yeah.
So I need you to, like, either take off the password or share it with me, because, like, this is not neighborly. And the guy was like, sir, I pay for the Wi-Fi, and, like, I put a password on it because my broadband's been really slow. And I guess it's because you've been using it. And the guy was like, but you see, like, you can use the Wi-Fi in your house. But any of the Wi-Fi that seeps out of your windows, like, that's out here in the public, man. You can't like just claim that's yours. It's
up
out
for
here
grabs.
on the public street. So, like, I need you to do the neighborly thing and share the Wi-Fi password with me. And if the issue is that it's too slow, you can just let me know when you have work to do, and I'll just like stay off of it for a little bit. But like, you can't just, it's very selfish of you to think that you can just keep all the Wi-Fi that seeps out of your house.
The bill's in your name. You're paying for it. You set the service up. It ain't yours, buddy. Come on.
It makes no sense. And I don't understand how someone can just be that, like...
I kind of wish, like, sometimes I'm just like, I just wish that I could just be so out of touch.
Yes.
And just be like, give me your Wi-Fi password.
Yes.
Like, I'm not paying for it.
It reminds me of that quote from New Girl. It's like, what are you, just like worrying about other people's feelings all the time? And it's like, yeah, it's exhausting all the time. Or like, it's so funny because like we both make a lot of Karen skits. Mm-hmm. And it's so funny. I don't know about you, but all of mine come from like real people. And I know there are some people that make them up, and that's totally okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But it just started with me like raising awareness about like what teachers deal with, and then it just kind of exploded into other professions. And I get so many comments that are sometimes like, well, this is just a bullying video. And I'm like, who am I bullying? It's me. It's my face.
Me and myself.
Like, they're like, well, because you're making fun of people. I'm like, no, I'm making fun of the action.
Yeah.
Like, if I wanted to put someone on blast and I wanted to tell you their name or what they looked like, then I would be bullying a person.
Yeah.
But when I'm using anonymity and I'm using myself as the face, we're talking about the actions that are not okay.
Right.
We're not putting people on blast. Like, there's a very big difference.
Yeah.
Or like sometimes I'll put the word Karen in the captions, and I'll get people who get very upset in the comments. Like, my name is Karen and I don't act like that. And Karen is now a slur. And you can't use that word because it's very offensive. And I'm like, ma'am.
I've gotten that too.
If the shoe don't fit, don't wear it.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like the idea of men.
Yeah.
Not all men. Okay, if the shoe don't fit, don't wear it.
Yeah.
Like, we shouldn't have to explain that when people are saying in general, men make people feel like this.
Yeah.
The men who don't do that don't feel attacked.
Right.
They're like, yeah, guys do that, and that's not okay.
Right.
Or like Becky's. Like, I've never in my life been like, Becky's, don't do that, because I know that I don't act that way.
Yeah.
So I don't feel attacked, and I don't feel triggered. Like, maybe if you're feeling super attacked or triggered by general statements like men do X, Karens do X, women do X. Like, do you know how, like, there are just as many memes about they're like, women XYZ, blah, 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 blah. Mm-hmm. I've never felt attacked by those because I just tried not to be a jerk.
I just don't get it sometimes. I'm just like, I don't even understand.
Right, I don't understand where it comes from. I guess other people do that. That sucks. Don't do that. If you're feeling super triggered or insulted by, like, general statements like that, maybe instead of yelling at the world and, like, making the stereotype come true, maybe you just reflect on why that bothers you. Why do you feel triggered? Like, have you ever done something where someone said you acted like a typical man or a Karen or a typical, like, why, what's going on that you're feeling so insulted?
Yeah, that's to assume that somebody would have enough emotional intelligence to even be able to look at themselves and even say, like, what, like, even question that, because I feel like everyone needs to go to therapy. Let's just put that out there right now.
Yes,
every single person
there's nothing wrong with
needs to go to therapy and understand your emotions and how to cope with and whatever. And so when you see things on the internet or when you are triggered, you can reflect on it and be like, why am I feeling this way? Why do I feel like I can relate to this or whatever? People can't do that. I don't even think that that's something. It's just, I'm right and everyone out here is attacking me and now I'm a victim.
Wow.
I had somebody get mad at me because I posted a screenshot of a hate comment I got, and it was spelled crazy, like it made no sense. And so I wrote, if you're gonna insult me, like, at least spell it correctly or something. Granted, that probably wasn't the best response, but that's what I said, and I posted it. And I got somebody come after me, and they were like, people who are dyslexic don't have a choice in, like, how they, like, this whole thing, like, you're insulting dyslexic people. And I was like,
is she dyslexic?
You know what I mean? I'm like, this is not where this was going. Like, this was 100% an attack on me that I'm posting to be funny. And now I'm a problem because people are dyslexic in the world. Sure, that's
Are there
fine.
dyslexic people? Yes, but I'm not saying, haha, you suck because you're dyslexic.
Haha, you can't spell.
Absolutely not.
Don't insult me if you can't even spell it correctly. That's where I was going with that. Where, you know, so things like that, especially now being on the internet for 3 years now, I'm like, you really have to think about it because people will just...
My skits used to be, the series was Real Things Said in My Classrooms.
Yes.
So I used to do Real Things Said in my comment sections. And I had to stop because so many Karens were getting so mad. Because, like, I also didn't blur out the names.
Okay.
Because like, I'm someone that, like, I want to choose to be kind and I want to choose to be empathetic. But if you're going to say something with your whole chest, own it.
You put it out there.
I genuinely don't understand why, like, and maybe there's like a little bit of ignorance to me. Like, you know, none of us are perfect. We're all learning. But I don't understand why, if you're going to choose to make this comment on a public forum and be nasty, why do I have to blur out your name? Are you not proud of your words?
Right.
Why? What's the problem?
Yeah.
But so many people would report the videos that at least TikTok would mute them, and you know, I might start doing them again. I probably should.
Yeah.
Now I just take like their insults and I literally just refute them back.
Yeah.
Like in the same way. But I will never like attack someone's appearance.
No.
I will never, you know,
call someone a name.
Right. I did a little video that was like, I'm locked in my car because Avery, what actually ended up happening, I didn't know at the time when I was filming it, but what actually ended up happening was Avery tried to leave the car unlocked when I was still in the car when we got back somewhere. But because he moved farther away with the keys, it automatically locked. And when you lock it from the outside, the unlock button doesn't work. And I think it's a safety feature of like, if you lock it from the outside, if all of a sudden the button is pushed from the inside, then it's like someone's breaking in.
Yeah.
So it's a security feature that the unlock button doesn't work. Yeah. So you have to physically push the little thing. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
You have to physically push or pull up or whatever in order to unlock it, but that sets off the alarm. And like, neurodivergent, like it hurts my head. I don't like the alarm to go off. It physically like feels like nails to a chalkboard when it's that loud.
Overwhelming.
I don't like it. So I made a thing that was like, I'm locked in my car, blah, 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 blah. And I put in the caption, like, if it's locked from the outside, my unlock button doesn't work. So someone commented like, oh my gosh, just hit the unlock button, genius. Like, can't believe that you wanted to sit here and listen to this bull crap or something like that, something along those lines. So I just responded with, read the caption, genius. Yeah. It's not like you don't have access to a caption that everyone else can look at before you hit the comment button or something like that. Yeah. Like, I'll always take it and just use their exact wording. Yeah. And you're so mean, or you have such an attitude, or
you're a Karen.
Blah, 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 you're a Karen, boomer, or like, I think it's so funny when like because I've been a doormat for a long time. We've talked about this before. I have always been a people pleaser. I've always been a doormat. And it's only been within the last few years, especially since what happened with like my previous project, that I've been a little bit more, I'm willing to do the confrontation. I'm willing to stand up for myself. I'm willing to put my foot down. Yeah. And I find it so funny when like I stand up for myself in some of these comment sections or in some of these messages. Yeah. And people are like, well, your bio says kindness, and this isn't very kind. Being kind doesn't mean letting people cuss you out. Yeah. Being kind doesn't mean letting people walk all over you, take advantage of you, and sit there and insult you to your face. Yeah. That's not what being kind is. Being kind is choosing not to sit there and go after your appearance. Being like, you can be kind and still advocate for yourself. You can be kind and put your foot down and say, you're not going to talk to me this way. Yeah. They're not mutually exclusive. That's not how that works.
Right. People are so threatened by boundaries, and especially healthy boundaries, because obviously that whole thing with Jonah Hill came out and people were all triggered by the boundary thing.
I didn't see that.
Okay, so this was a little while ago. It came out that his ex had posted some text messages that he sent, and it was like his boundaries. And he was like, I don't want you wearing a bikini at the beach. I don't want you hanging out with these crazy girls. Like, it was very toxic.
But that's not his own boundaries. That's his boundaries for her. Yeah, right. Yeah, that's the difference.
So, you know, people get all weird about boundaries, but it's really true that if you set healthy boundaries for yourself and anybody is threatened by them, then they should not be.
That's why I think some people don't like cats. Because cats have more natural boundaries of like, they're not like dogs. no, I don't want you to pick me up all the time.
Yeah.
No, I don't want you to touch me all the time. I will come to you on my terms because that's where I'm comfortable.
Yeah.
And some people are just like, I hate cats.
Yeah.
They don't love you. And I'm like, oh, no. It's not that they don't love you. You just want to love them on your terms.
Yeah.
Like, you're not willing to respect this animal as like its own creature with its own like wants, needs, whatever.
Yeah.
That, like, to me, and Nathan the cat lady and I have talked about this a lot. People who are like, cats are awful, I hate, like, and there are people that just don't like animals or don't like some animals, and that's okay. But the people who are like, no, I hate cats, that's a red flag to me.
Okay.
That's a huge red flag.
Yeah.
Because it's more like, again, you can not like an animal or you can be allergic to an animal. That has nothing to do with anything. But if you're like, I hate this animal, I want them all to disappear and blah, I don't want the earth to have cats. Like, to me, it's like, oh, you don't respect boundaries.
Yeah.
Okay.
I see the underlying message here.
Yeah.
I feel like people can be the same way regarding boundaries about kids.
Yes.
I made a video, and this was a made-up thing. It was a skit. I was the star. I was everybody in it. And it was a situation where, like, a grandma came over and wanted to hug a little girl. And the mom was like, no, like, she doesn't like hugs. Like, we've talked about this. Let's do a high five instead. And, you know, the grandma was like, oh, that's, you know, you're teaching the wrong thing. And so many people were genuinely like, that's so,
she can give grandma a hug.
Yeah, she can't give grandma a hug, like, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, but you're teaching that what they're comfortable around with their body is disregarded.
That they don't have bodily autonomy. No.
Yeah, that adults can do whatever they want because you're a kid.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of that in, do you watch Frazzled at all? Mm-mm. I'll have to show you.
Okay.
She was a kindergarten teacher, and she does a lot of, she used to do, like, talking to politicians like they're my kindergartners.
Yes.
But now she does, like, gentle parenting other family members.
Okay.
I love that. It's so funny. She's so sweet. I love her so much. Like, she's just a good person.
Yeah.
She did one about, like, a little boy who was going to hug family members and things like that. It kind of came up about how, like, when it comes to little boys that are being forced to hug family members, don't you want to teach them about bodily autonomy?
Right.
And teach them how important that is, so that when they grow up, they understand that when it comes to other people and other women. Like, is that not a really good lesson to teach, especially young boys?
Right.
Who, again, we don't do absolutes.
Yeah.
We shouldn't have to explain that there are exceptions to, like, every... Of course, there are also women that need to understand that, too. Of course.
Sure.
But the truth is, vast majority of sexual assault, sexual abuse, things like that, that comes from men. Would we not want to teach men from an early age that, hey, you have bodily autonomy and you should have a right to what goes on with your body, no one can force, but, like, that's just a good lesson that young boys should know and should understand and should learn. Why would you ever not want to teach them that?
I don't know. And it really was just coming from, like, such a selfish, like, well, I should be able to. There's no reason not to. And I was like, I shouldn't have to explain this to you, but here I am explaining this to you, that this is just not appropriate.
Exactly.
And this really, like, hit me because I used to work with kids with autism. And that was just something where I was like, some people don't want to be touched. Some people don't like this. And I was like, that's true for everyone. Like, it doesn't just have to be a specific, special scenario where it's like, oh, well, this kid, any kid, anybody should have, it's just crazy that, and, like, you know, we talked about people that have their kids in situations where they'll freak out in front of people, and it's just like, the impact that people have on children, and they don't even think twice about it, and then they wonder why their kid has problems. Then they're like, oh, I can't deal with it because so-and-so has all these behavioral problems, they need to go live with their dad. And it's like...
oh my God, I told this, I had a kid who, the mom would, like, joke, like, literally use LOL and ha-has, like, talking about, I'm just gonna send the kid, like, if the dad won't take him, I'm just gonna put him in foster care. And, like, every time someone says something like that, I'm like, I just get, like, a little choked up. I told the story on the foster care episode, because she would, like, threaten to put him in foster care if no one else would take him. It was disgusting. It was disgusting behavior. But you're right, like, so many people are just so entitled, whether it comes to kids or pets or themselves, that, like, they can't even fathom the fact that other people are just living their lives or doing their jobs or just existing.
Right.
And it's not that hard to just not be a problem.
Yeah.
It's really not that hard to just not make someone's job harder or not put someone down. Like, you have a choice. And like, sometimes your day doesn't go as planned, and sometimes things happen. But like, you have a choice of whether you want to handle it with grace, or whether you want everyone else to have the same kind of day that you're having. And if you choose the latter, then like, that's just blatantly selfish. It doesn't make you a good person. It doesn't make you a hero. It doesn't make you the main character. It makes people like talk about you for like a good hour, and then they'll never remember you again.
Right.
Like, it's just baffling to me, the number of people that like just genuinely go out of their way to upset people or just want them to be as miserable as they are. But something my mom always told me is that when people act that way, when people are choosing to go out of their way to put you down, it's really just a projection of how miserable they are with themselves. And so I know it's hard and so easier said than done, but I try not to take it personally. Because I know that, they're just that miserable of a person.
I mean, that's so true, too, because if you go on the internet, like, I don't think I've ever gone on videos and just been like, oh, my God, this person is thriving.
Just like I hate that. That makes me angry.
And if it does, I need to get off the internet.
Yeah, like, that's weird. Now that I think, like, I've never actually thought about that before, but yeah, I've never, like, sat there and watched a video and felt the need to, like, tell someone, I hate you. Why? It makes no sense to me.
And it's like, if you go to McDonald's and you cause this big scene, you get all upset. I don't know about you, but if I ever have like an issue with somebody, like that ruins my day. Like my heart's going, like how can you have this scenario and then just go home and like live your life like that never happened?
That's crazy.
Like I'd be like, let alone go back to that restaurant or something. Like
I would have to move.
I would have to move. I would be so embarrassed and disgusted with my behavior that I would have to like write a formal apology.
Yes.
And that's just not.
No.
They just go home and just.
That's so crazy to me.
Like next time I go out, I'll do it again.
Oh my God, no, I can't. Well, do you have any last minute thoughts? Anything that you want to say to the Karens or encourage people about Karen? Anything along those lines?
I would just say, I think you made a good point, just the projection thing, because that's something that I really have to keep in mind, even myself, because, every once in a while I'll see things that are just so nasty, and I can feel myself physically getting upset, and that's just like, once again, these people, like, you really have to question why these people are saying these things and why they would even be doing this, and at the end of the day, ultimately, there's no reason, they're not truly mad at you. They don't truly think that you are the ugliest person on the earth, because that's ridiculous. And
no. They're probably not going to remember you in a week or so.
Right. And I think something that I really want to remember and take away is that don't take criticism from somebody you would never take advice from.
Absolutely.
Yeah, write it on your mirror if you have to every morning.
That. Oh, I love that.
Me too.
Thank you so much for hanging out with us today.
And thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I had so much fun.
I know.
Thank you guys so much. I hope you have a great rest of your day and hope to see y'all next week. Bye-bye, lovelies.